today's show, we have a special guest in the studio. Her name is Sandy Petree. She has started a new apostolate called Under Mary's Mantle. So we're going to talk to her today. Normally we would go to Dr. Chris Bergwald next, but he's on vacation or something this week. So we get no biblical bites with Dr. B, but I have no doubt that Sandy is going to fill our time very well. So we're going to go right to our interview today. Sandy, welcome to Catholic Views.
Thank you.
As Sandy, I met you at the
Conference for Life and Families.
Thank you. Yeah, the Celebration of Life and Families. Yes.
Celebration. Yes.
I forget what it was called. This was just a couple weeks ago. Sandy stopped me and told me about her apostolate, and I thought, we need to get her on Catholic Views because, first of all, it's a really good apostolate, really interesting work that you're doing, and this is what we're encouraging our diocese to do, is to step out and find ways to do the thing that God is asking you to do. And sometimes that's really hard. But you are not alone. There have been many people in the diocese so far who have stepped up to do the thing that God's asking them, to start their apostolate, whatever it may be. And so I wanted to bring you in to talk about that and how you did this and why you did this and how it's going. So, again, thanks for being here.
Yes, you're welcome.
So let's start, if you would, by just telling us a little bit about yourself and kind of your journey as a Catholic, if you would.
Okay. Well, I was born, raised at Loyola, which is the northern part of the state. Mm-hmm. Grew up on a farm. My mother is Catholic, and so we were raised Catholic.
Sure.
My father was raised as a Protestant, First Reformed, I believe, or something, but he was always supportive of our Catholic upbringing.
Good.
And and he wanted the best for us, and so anyway, and my grandmother, my mother comes from a very strong Catholic family, so my grandmother was a great influence in my life also.
Yep.
Great influence. And so my mother did the bulk of providing the Catholic faith along with the community, and we had a great religious upbringing there in the community. And then after I attended college, then I moved to Sioux Falls with my first professional job there. And
what did you do?
And
or what do you do?
I worked for Occupational Safety and Health Administration.
Okay.
In their offices there, and so I was there. Mm-hmm. And during that time, I experienced a conversion of sorts.
Okay.
And I was actually living in an apartment a half block from the cathedral.
Okay.
And so I'd get off work at 4:30, and there was Mass at 5:15. And so I became a regular attendee at the Mass then always. And after my conversion, really dedicated myself to the Lord at that time then. And then I met my husband during that time then, and so we were married at the cathedral, and our first 3 children were actually baptized there. We lived in the area, and so it was a great influence in my life. Just continuing on, and doing other ministries within the church there then at the cathedral, and then when we had our first baby, then that's when I got involved with other women's meetings and so on.
Sure. So you've been doing this for a little while, kind of really involved in the church. I find it really interesting that you say you had a conversion because you're a cradle Catholic, obviously.
Right.
But as cradle Catholics, there's very different stories because many of us kind of have a very slow conversion over time. That's kind of been my story, where it's been kind of incremental. And then others who are even cradle Catholics will have more of a more instantaneous, for the lack of a better word, conversion that kind of sets them on a different path all of a sudden. That sounds like that was kind of your
Definitely, yeah. There was a point in my life where, I had reached, and that took place that time then.
Yeah.
So
the
Lord definitely drew me into Him. So
he was like, "Hey, Sandy."
yeah.
Good. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your apostolate. It's called Under Mary's Mantle. So you tell us what this is and how it came about.
Well, how it came about was the Lord actually at work. We had lived, like I said, we had lived in Sioux Falls, but then we had 3 children, and at that time we were thinking we both wanted to move to the country, and so we moved to Salem then because my husband's grandfather had homesteaded out
Oh,
there,
sure.
a farm. So we
Yeah.
live on a farm then. So we could raise our 8 children. We have 8 children then.
Wow.
And so we moved out there. But I had been involved in the Leachy League, when
Oh,
we
yeah.
lived in Sioux Falls then.
Yeah.
And actually, my husband and I have been involved with the Couple to Couple League, also in Sioux Falls, and involved with that. And actually, we became teachers of natural climate planning then, and
Nice.
taught for 25 years in the diocese.
Wow.
But I needed, like, all of a sudden, here I was at home with my first baby, and I needed, some kind of a support group
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
And a woman from the parish gave me a call, and she asked if I was going to be doing the mother's group, or not the mother's group, I'm sorry, the babysitting that we had for
Oh.
the children. That
Okay,
was
sure.
our service activity, and I was a leader for the Junior Catholic Daughters.
Mm-hmm.
And she wanted to know if we'd be providing that service for the masses again, so the parents could attend mass without their little ones.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, no, I wouldn't be doing that because I just had a baby.
Yeah. You're like, I'm kind
And
of busy.
and she said, oh, you just had a baby? She says, well, I'm having a meeting at my house in, a few weeks or whatever. Would you like to come? And I definitely said yes.
Yeah.
And it was a Lilichi League meeting. And so I couldn't wait. I just couldn't wait until that day when I could go and be with other moms, because I
Mhm.
knew no one who was at home. I'd either
Sure.
gone to school or worked full time. And all of a sudden, here I was with this little baby who couldn't visit with me or talk with me, respond to me much.
You need some adult conversation.
Exactly. And so I went to the meeting then, and I'll never forget when I opened that door and I saw all these moms, young moms with their babies and young children, and then there was a more mature woman who was the leader then.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, she said, with introductions, that she had 9 children and her youngest was 5, and
Wow.
so she became, and she had a co-leader with her also.
Mhm.
Excuse me. She provided a lot of leadership and mentoring to all of us too.
Mhm.
So in addition to what we learned at each meeting, she provided this mentoring also.
Sure.
But the other thing was all the fellowship, with all the moms and everything. So anyway, when we moved out to the country, then all of a sudden we didn't know anyone out
Right.
there.
Right.
And here I was, and we had the 3 already, but I missed that fellowship. I missed that group experience. And so, but then we became involved, with children in school and so on.
Sure,
And so that just
sure.
kind of went away.
So time, yeah,
But
and then time
as-
starts to go by. And
That's right.
Yeah.
But, that kept coming back to me. It's like,
Okay.
there needs to be this. I'd see young moms, with their babies or whatever, and this kind of like lost look.
Yes. Yes.
Because, sometimes mothers don't live close by, or families, there's not that support.
Mhm.
And I just felt, that there needed to be, something for them. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so the Lord kind of kept pushing me through the years then. And
So it's always
that's
kind
how
of
it
been in the
started.
back of your mind for a while.
Kind of,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, some kind of support group for families, something like that.
So what
Mhm.
was the
Yeah.
impetus that made you actually do it? Finally.
Well, I guess they're kind of jumping ahead then.
yeah,
to,
yeah. Is that okay?
yeah,
Or is there
that's
another good
fine.
part to the story that I missed?
I guess in somewhat of a way there, yeah. But when I had my 5th child, there was we were waiting for the news to come on, so my husband could watch the weather.
Mhm.
He needed to always know what the weather would
Sure.
be for his commute to and from Sioux Falls.
Oh, sure. From
you
Salem.
know,
Yeah.
with the weather that we have in our state.
Especially in the winter. Yeah.
So anyway, we were waiting for the weather to come on, the news to come on, and we caught the last part of the Miss America pageant.
Oh.
And so anyway, the winner came on and did her walk, and the MC started singing the song, "Here she is, the most
Oh,
beautiful,
yes.
the most wonderful woman in all the land." And here I was with this new baby, and it, it struck me. It's like the most wonderful woman in all the land. Women who've had children. Where does that fit in? And
Mhm.
it just struck me at that point. The words that Jesus had said on his way to Calvary.
Yeah.
And when he was on the way of the cross, if you could look at the 9th station, those are the only words spoken in Scripture that he said during while he was carrying his cross.
Mm-hmm.
And he looked at the women, but he'd already fallen twice.
Mm-hmm.
He'd already been scourged. He was crowned with thorns that pierced into his head.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't at a point where he, could do much chit-chatting or, just
Right.
stopping to visit.
Right.
And if he could have said it at any other time, why didn't he? But when he saw the women, the mothers with their children and and babies and young children, he stopped and he talked to them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when he said, "Daughters of Jerusalem, do not weep for me. Weep for yourselves, because the days are coming when they will say, 'Blessed are the wombs that never bore, and the breasts that have never nursed.'"
Right.
And suddenly
Oh,
it struck
wow.
me that that's what he was talking about. I saw this most wonderful, most beautiful woman in all the land,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking, he was talking about right now.
Mm-hmm.
He was talking about these days, right now.
Right.
And he was talking, there's so many things that fall into this.
Mm-hmm.
So, we have abortion, we
Yeah.
have contraception, we have all the things that entice women to not have children
Mm-hmm.
and, maybe give up like a sports scholarship or a career or something, and employers who want women to, get back to work as soon as possible,
Mm-hmm.
or they'll lose, pay and have to,
Right.
whatever. And so we have, quite a bit of that happening.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where this kind of stems from too. Is
Sure.
like, Jesus addressed this subject.
Yeah.
He was thinking of us.
Yeah.
way
He
back
was.
then.
I had never put those two together, but that's very insightful to connect that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very powerful.
Okay. So fast forward a little bit, because how long have you been doing the Under Mary's Mantle?
Okay. Well, started it with the Lord's inspiration. Been doing it since this is the second year.
Okay.
So it's in infancy stages.
yeah. Yeah.
And just starting steps. So this summer now is the 5th series of them.
Okay.
So
So tell me
that's
what it's about, if you would,
Okay,
because
yes.
we haven't
Mhm.
gotten to that part yet. So
Right,
yeah,
right.
why don't you fill us in
Okay.
on how
Yes.
it's set up and who's it for?
Okay, it's for mothers with young children
Mhm.
that are expecting or have a newborn baby, and the first 3, the early years
Sure.
of motherhood.
Okay.
And it consists of a series of 5 meetings.
Okay.
And it's patterned after a Lalichi League.
Sure.
They would have 4 meetings, 1 month apart, and with different topics at each one.
Mm-hmm.
And when a series finished, then they'd start another series.
Right.
And so this is patterned in the same manner as the Lalichi League, which actually there are no
They don't do those
Lalichi League
anymore.
meetings at all.
Okay.
At one time, there was 3 groups in Sioux Falls, and then eventually they just dwindled to none at all in
Right.
our state.
Well, it's a good thing you're doing this,
So,
'cause it
so
needs to be
but they
done.
lost their Catholic emphasis. It was
Sure.
started by 7 Catholic women, and it lost that because they wanted to become not affiliated with
Sure.
any religion.
Sure.
And so this is Catholic focused then, and like I said, with the Lord's inspiration, because yes, He has been asking me to do this. So anyway, I thought, okay, I need your help. I need you. You're going to have to do this if this is
Right.
going to happen. You need
Right.
to help me do this. And so our meetings are patterned, like I said, then after Lalichi League. So there's 5 meetings, but they're held bi-weekly.
Okay.
So every 2 weeks,
Mhm.
just because we live in a fast-paced society. And so, I just know that, to retain interest or whatever, with
Yep.
our society with the young moms, that's necessary then too, is to, have them more frequently.
Yeah. Yeah.
So every 2 weeks, and then there's 5 different topics then. So,
Okay.
The first topic is okay, let me think here for a minute.
Yeah.
So the first one is on pregnancy and nutrition.
Okay.
The second one is caring for ourselves and our families.
Sure.
The third one is the first 3 years. The fourth one is breastfeeding and Catholic motherhood.
Mhm.
And the fifth one is natural child spacing.
Oh,
And,
sure.
and that doesn't specifically mean natural family planning.
Right.
It means, what God did from the beginning of time, how children are naturally spaced.
Mhm.
Because they found that when they looked through the records in Europe, that babies were born 2 to 3 years apart.
Sure.
Well, there were no bottles or anything like that.
Right.
So it was through breastfeeding that babies naturally were. And in cultures where they are, fully breastfeeding, that is the case also.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, so that's that part of it is, how does this happen? Because, a lot of women have heard of, the extended time of infertility, during the amenorrhea, that is what it's called, during the breastfeeding.
Right.
But it hasn't been happening
Right.
in our culture because there's too many other things that come into play.
Work is a big one. Careers kind of get in the way of that, and kind of push that out.
Yes.
Okay, so you just started this. Do you have quite a? Is it a big group? How has the interest been so far?
Well, it was exactly what I had thought from the beginning. Okay, Lord.
Well, you do need.
Happen.
You need that assistance because none of us know how to do this stuff. So yeah. So how did you reach out to the diocese? Did you go on your own?
No, advertising in the parish bulletins.
Oh, sure.
And so there's a regular announcements in them, and so we had our first one in the Salem area, and then continued on from that then, and went to Sioux Falls last summer, St. Michael's, Hartford, and Salem. I've had several there, and now this summer our series is at St. Lambert's, and there were 5 moms at the last meeting. And was it 4 or 5? But 5. The 5th one couldn't make it at the last minute.
Right.
And so anyway, it's the moms with their babies and young children. There's kind of all this little chaos around and
beautiful
activity.
Chaos, right?
Yes, it is. But we had that, like I said, I have that experience. Little H League was, the same thing.
Right.
And the moms are content because their little ones are, there, and the little ones are, for the most part, content then too.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, it works out well.
Yeah.
So,
was there some fear for you at the beginning, or is there still? Maybe.
Well, definitely at the beginning.
Yeah.
Because I thought, Lord, what do you want me to do? How are you going to, do this? But everything fell into place, and I guess that's kind of where it falls into the missionary discipleship because it's directly related to that too.
Yeah.
Because I'd been feeling this calling to do this. Actually, I knew that I couldn't go to sleep, and know that, I've done everything I've done and go to the Lord if if this was my last day.
This thing he's been asking you to do.
Yes, there'd be one thing I'd have to face him with is
Right.
did you do this? Right. So I thought, well, you're going to have to help me with this. And everything just started, coming into place. But the biggest thing is that we had a priest that came 2 years ago, Father Stephen Jones, who is a spiritual director. And he wanted all of us to come for spiritual direction.
That's a great idea.
Yes, he wanted everyone.
Yeah.
And for spiritual direction and to make holy hours.
Yeah.
He encouraged that so much.
Yeah.
So I went to him for spiritual direction, and he wanted me to do 2 weeks of 1 hour a day holy hours.
Oh, wow.
And I kind of looked at him, and I just got this look like, I'm a wife and a mom.
Kind of busy.
He said, is there anything that would get in the way of that? And I just said, well, it might be a little difficult some days. He said, how about a half hour every day? And I said, for 2 weeks. And I said, yeah, I think I can manage that. So,
and you did, I imagine.
I did for the most part. Yeah, there were a couple of days there,
Sure.
and I told him that then.
Yeah.
But for the most part, and so it was during that time then that the Lord really spoke to me, and He wanted me to go to the Missionary Discipleship Conference.
Oh, yeah.
And I really didn't have any intent or want to go, I guess. And so anyway, I said, yeah, okay, I'll go. And so anyway, made holy hour the next day, and then the next day after that, 2 days later, and I went back, and the first thing that the Lord, the Holy Spirit, said, did you sign up for it yet? No. As soon as I get home.
But I will.
It was
I
very
promise.
directly. And at that conference, then, the bishop talked about the importance of this, and his focus that day was on the family and the importance of the family and getting back to the family.
Yep.
And so I just felt like it was the Lord speaking to me,
Mm-hmm.
and back to the family and back to the home, away from the internet, away from TV,
Mm-hmm.
were the words He used, and just back to the family.
Yep.
And so it tied in so perfectly with this. And on the overhead, he had this picture of the Holy Family in their
Yep.
home.
Yep.
And I had been trying to think of names for this group, and everything I'd think of was already used, or somebody
Sure, of
had
course.
it.
That's
And so so there was Mary sitting on the side, and Joseph standing there, and Jesus, and there was Mary's mantle, and it just came to me because that name had been coming to me during my holy hours,
sure.
and
So
so
funny how that
there
works.
it was. So it was like, okay, this is it. And so anyway, that was the start of it, and the
Yeah.
doors started opening after that point.
Yeah.
And the people I needed to speak with or get ideas from to get this started and support for it. And I had like I said, the doors just kept opening, and I'd
Yeah.
say, well, who should I have for a co-leader? And that the co-leader that I've had for quite a few of the meetings, Lisa, she has 8 children also,
Oh, sure.
and her youngest ones are in school yet.
Mhm.
So anyway, she walked into church that day, and it was just like the Lord said, "There she is." So
He's really helping you.
So things were just I just have a question, and even with putting the formatting together
Mhm.
with the leader's guide, because we have 4 books that we use then
Yeah.
for the meetings.
Yeah.
And everything just fell into place.
Yep.
What parts to use. I had time set aside. Always
Mhm.
that I could just focus on that.
Yep.
And the right parts came into play, and the right topics. I mean, it was the Lord's doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely.
He will definitely, if you ask him, he will guide you through it
Yes.
for sure.
Yes.
Okay, Sandy, we don't have a ton of time left, so
Yeah.
I want to do 2 things, if you
Mhm.
could, in about 2-3 minutes. Can you tell us what are the fruits you've seen, and then I want to make sure that people know how they can get involved, or
Mhm.
how they can come to the meetings and where they can find out more information.
Okay.
So,
Well, the fruits of it are definitely, from what I've seen at the meetings,
Mhm.
the mothers that are coming and then spreading the word, and just, more coming and more coming. And like the series we have going right now at St. Lambert's, there's moms from other parishes
Oh,
too,
nice.
because the bulletin announcements, the secretaries, asked, do you have a one again for this week?
Mhm.
It's been wonderful, the support I've received from the parishes in Sioux Falls, and
yeah.
the moms from all these other parishes coming besides,
Mhm.
there. And so that's what's neat, is to see
Yes.
that at our meetings, we have the topics, and then we share I read, the passages,
Mhm.
from that particular topic
Mhm.
that day from the book. And then there's sharing with the mothers
Yeah.
then. And
I-
they just love it. You
Yeah.
just see it bouncing off of each other.
Yeah.
So
I love
mhm.
that it's scriptural, and it brings the faith
Yes.
into something that women are going through when they have children
Mhm.
anyway. I mean, this is a
Mhm.
very natural thing. It's, but to bring the faith into it, I think is super important, especially in the culture we have right now.
Yeah, and I do use the Pope John Paul letter to families, letter
Yep.
to mothers, and the role of the family in the modern world, because there's small excerpts in there,
Yeah.
in very supportive of mothers,
Yes.
and it's just incredible.
Yeah.
How much I've learned myself.
Yeah,
even
yeah.
doing
And you're
this,
probably
so.
learning from other women, and they get to
Oh, I
learn
do.
from you, who's
I
had
do.
8 children.
I do. Yeah, no, I'm learning, like, where do you buy your cloth diapers?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
things that they're sharing amongst
Yeah.
themselves. It's like,
Yeah.
wow, I didn't know this.
Yeah.
So,
Okay,
mhm.
so if a woman is pregnant, has very young children, how do they find out about you or get involved in one of the series?
Well, at this point, I would like to see it, go throughout the whole diocese.
Mhm.
And so I do have an email that they can contact me at.
Okay.
And, then that way they could request information,
Sure.
or, if possible, start a series in their own parish.
Okay.
Because, I wouldn't be able to go,
No, you
throughout the
can't go everywhere.
diocese very easily.
Right.
But I could, to the north part of the state. My family still is up there, so
Right.
I have a place too. But if they want to start a series, they can contact me, and I can forward information to them.
Okay.
What books to use and so on.
Okay.
Or a Zoom meeting of some sort then too, also to
Sure.
guide the meetings. I do like to have someone go through an entire series so they're in conformity, with the topics that are being taught too.
Right.
So that's kind of important.
Right.
And to stay with Catholic, teaching.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
but the email then, so
What is that email address?
Okay, that is, it's under Mary's Mantle, which is umm6726@gmail.com.
Okay.
So,
So UMM, both as in Mary, UMM 6726@gmail.com. And it's Sandy Petree.
yes.
Sandy, I really appreciate you coming in today.
Well, you're welcome.
I'm so
Thank
glad you pulled me aside, because this is really, this is really an important ministry that, like I said, in the culture we have, we just overturned Roe v. Wade, so it's just super important right now.
Yes.
So I really thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And good luck.
for having me.
Let us know if we can do something else for you. Okay?
Yes.
Thanks a
we'll
lot,
do that.
Sandy.
Yes, thank you.
All right. That is it for us today. Hope you join us again next week for more Catholic Views.